Hey guys, welcome to the Critical Review. Today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming HBO Max series, Lanterns. Now, Lanterns is based off the DC source material of the Green Lantern, and most people, whenever they think of the Green Lantern, they immediately think of Hal Jordan. Now, Hal Jordan is in this. He's played by Kyle Chandler. You might know Chandler from the newly released The Rip movie on Netflix, and he's also been in Friday Night Lights. Now, the Hal Jordan that we get in this is an older Hal Jordan. He looks like he's, in his 50s somewhere. He's seen some things. He's kind of like worn down. And he's training like a new guy. Now, the new guy is Jon Stewart, played by Aaron Pierre. I don't know much about this actor, so I'm kind of going into that blind. But their chemistry in the trailer is just kind of like, the grizzled veteran and the new guy. The next character ends up being the only real issue I have with the trailer. And it's Guy Gardner's haircut. Why? Why on earth would DC do this to this poor man? Like, if you're like a kid and you want an action figure, is that the action figure you want? Because I know it wouldn't be if I was a kid. I know that I'm kind of harping on this a little bit, but like it really takes me out of it. Every time I see that guy and he's in a scene, all I can focus on is how god awful his haircut is. Anyway, Guy Gardner is played by Nathan Fillion, and you know him from The Rookie, which was he was really good in that show. So that was pretty solid casting, aside from the haircut. Now, what it looks like is happening is Hal Jordan is training Jon Stewart, and they're trying to solve these murders that are happening. Now, it's actually kind of cool because it's like an on-Earth investigation, and then it's like a space investigation. Now, the Green Lantern Corps is essentially like galactic police, so this kind of makes sense. And it's actually pretty cool because they're not bound to one planet, so they're just looks like they're kind of going out, gathering clues, trying to figure out what's going on. Jon Stewart brings up the Manhunters, and Hal Jordan seems concerned, and it's almost like a little kid saying a bad word because he looks at him and he's like, where did you hear that word before? Now, for those of you that don't know, the Manhunters were created by the Guardians, and essentially they seek out different life forms and they basically destroy civilizations in the comic books. They almost have a Terminator way of thinking where indiscretions against humanity is caused by organic life. So the only logical response to that is to eliminate organic life. Hal Jordan seems to be struggling with a few things emotionally in this. And then there's a scene of him talking to Sinestro, who's played by Ulrich Thompson. You'll recognize him from The Bad Guy in Banshee, where he starred along Anthony Starr. That's a really good series, by the way. A little older, but something to check out. Now, from the scene, it looks like Hal Jordan and Sinestro have a lot of history. From what I gather, Sinestro was Hal Jordan's mentor. And what eventually happened was Sinestro tried to stage a coup against the Green Lantern Corps to try to take it over. They obviously caught him and imprisoned him. But in this scene, Hal Jordan is talking to Sinestro in like a prison cell. It's very like like the Batman and Joker scene at the end of the Batman. It's like a deleted scene. You kind of get that vibe where he's seeking the advice of somebody who's like a villain. During this conversation, Sinestro looks at Hal Jordan and says, "Do you really think Jon Stewart is just a trainee?" Hal Jordan responds, "No, he's my replacement." So that creates a whole nother subplot beyond this murder mystery that we're going to be delving into. Is Hal Jordan wrestling with the fact that the Green Lantern Corps is likely going to replace him. Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are very different characters. Essentially how the ring works is it's based off of your will. Hal Jordan's was based off of like anger and rage, where Jon Stewart's was, his will was based differently. He's able to make more complex things. As you can even see in the trailer, like Hal Jordan is the hammer and Jon Stewart is like the power drill. They're very different. And in the comics, Hal Jordan ends up actually becoming a villain. And it's because of his rage and it consumes him. So is this the beginning of that story arc? I'm not sure. But either way, Hal Jordan having to wrestle with him training his replacement is going to be a very interesting subplot. Somebody that really stood out in this trailer, there's supposed to be a guardian which could take any form, is Laura Linney. And you'll recognize her from Ozark, among other movies. She's actually a really, really good actress. So I'm really happy to see her join the cast. It's unclear what her role is, but it's always good to see talent like that sign on for a project like this. At first, I wasn't really sold on this series until I looked into it more and I started cruising through the internet. And I'm actually like kind of excited about it. Like an intergalactic noir-based like series sounds actually pretty awesome. I can't think of anything that's ever been like that before. And whenever I think a noir-based story plot, I don't think of the Green Lantern, but it might actually kind of work in this instance. Now, the impressions I got from the trailer, the first thing I'll say is the CGI looks awesome. Whenever Hal Jordan walks into the restaurant and all these guys open up on him with machine guns, this like shielded orb comes around him, which is the Lantern's power, and shields him from all the bullets. It looks good. The other thing that I'll mention is Kyle Chandler playing Hal Jordan. He does a really good job because Hal Jordan's like a little bit of a cocky guy. There's one point where he's talking to this girl and he offers her a beer, and then he manifests a bottle opener out of nowhere, grabs it, pops the bottle, and then blows the bottle opener into dust, like trying to impress her. And he does it really well, and it's kind of charming, and it kind of like lets you know what kind of character Hal Jordan's going to be in this series. There is a scene with Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan, and Guy Gardner is telling Hal Jordan they will send an army to put you down. At least that's how it's edited. Now, who is going to be the army that they're going to send? Is it going to be the Manhunters, or is it the Lantern Corps trying to retire Hal Jordan? It's hard to say, but either way, that's a pretty deep conversation that they're having. Now, this series is set to release in August on HBO Max. I would say if you have HBO Max, I would definitely check it out. And if you don't, you could always wait for my review of the first couple episodes and kind of see what the series is about. Alright guys, if you get a chance, please tap that like button. It really helps me out. I'm just starting this channel out, and that kind of stuff really matters. It takes 2 seconds, and I really appreciate it. Alright guys, and until next time, this has been The Critical Review.